Welcome back, fam, to the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. Thank you for being back on the ride with me yet again as we continue in the month of May, this special Mother's Day edition throughout the month when we are talking about influences that motherly figures have had in our lives, thus shaping how we are now. As I stated last week, in the month of June, we will be focusing on the fatherly figure in our lives. But again, for the month of May, we really want to stay in this theme of focusing on the influence of motherly figures in our lives and how has that shaped us today and how we show up and engage in relationships. So before we jump into the conversation of the day with my special guest, please, ma'am, please, sir, do the normal housekeeping task of the day. Like, share, and if you have not, please subscribe to this channel so that you will be up to date with all information concerning this platform. Let me move into introducing my special guest for today. I have shared before, during the pandemic, a brother fell on some hard times, and I was working at Burlington Coat Factory as a door greeter and wiping down carts, through the pandemic.
You were wiping down carts?
Yeah, I was wiping down the carts, bro.
Oh.
But I was. It was humbling, but at the same time, the Lord placed me there strategically because He had to grow me in some areas. And He had to show me that He was the provider, not me. But that's another story. But I want to let you all know that during that time period in my life, the Lord really blessed me personally that I was able to make a new friend. And I want to introduce you all to my special guest today, D. He would come into the store.
I would just come to the store, go to the shoe section, see what they got, because Burlington, they got some shoes. So, they got some good deals and some good clothes, so.
Because there was a couple other cats that would come in there, because he said he had a shoe business.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go in there and see vintage shoes and stuff, and he'll turn around and sell them.
Right, and I just got into that sometime last year, so I was going through a struggle, but it just started to pick up with that. So Burlington, I would go more into Burlington and see what they got, and shoot, I found a couple pairs I was successful with, and but since the pandemic, it's really slowed down. Cause I remember 2019, 2018, Burlington had they had pairs for days. Especially during Black Friday and during Christmas time, they had pairs for days. But the name's D. I'm about 26 years old, and I ran into this this young gentleman right here, Eric. Man, he's a real one. I ran into him at Burlington, and I think we started talking about was it the hair or something?
We started with the hair, because he came in and he had cut his hair.
Yeah, I had free form at the time, and I cut it.
I said, "What did you do?" He was like, "Yeah, I cut it, bro." I'm like, "Why?" And then we started talking about nutrition.
Yeah. Oh. I love talking about nutrition.
So the conversation just about, and then we start talking about religion.
Yeah. So we just vibed up a conversation, good dude, and just conversations like that, you click up with someone, and we share the same interests, so it's just we just kept in touch. But I was just because it was in the midst of COVID. And we had our own lives, and I was trying to find out what the next step was, and he was trying to find out what the next step was. So it was just a good opportunity. It was a good opportunity as well with all the social distancing and people having fear of or just the most more often, um, you know, gosh, how do I put this? But like less interactions, like yeah, less social interactions.
Yep.
So it was just like a good time to like get out of the comfort zone and
Yes,
just
sir.
start a conversation. So I'm glad I ran into him. And yeah, we kept in touch ever since. You know?
Yeah, we did. We did. It was really organic. I
Yeah,
would say that it
yeah,
really
it
was.
was real.
It was a genuine connection. And so I had to invite him onto the show. Just to pick his brain. Get his perspective on things. As he has very good insight on a lot of things that we were talking about. So it was just a pleasure to have a intellectual and high level conversation with somebody. And you just don't find that much nowadays because a lot of conversation is just very shallow.
Yeah, like
So,
trash talk, like
yeah.
yeah.
So, but what we want to do on today is to continue the theme of Mother's Day and their influence on our lives or motherly figures in our lives, whether it be grandma, auntie, cousin, whoever influenced us in life. And we want to continue this pattern or this topic of discussion. How has that shaped us and how we engage in relationships today with the overarching thought of healthy versus toxic relationships? What is it about our dealings early on in life, whether it's if you're a little boy or a little girl, because we're going to actually talk about both sides of the spectrum today. Um, how did those influences shape us the way that we approach relationships today, whether they are platonic, friendship, romantic, parental, child, at work, all this kind of stuff? How do we show up in relationships today based off of those experiences that we've had in the past? And so the first question that I want to pose to D is kind of a two-parter. What is the difference, or what does it look like from a healthy relationship perspective versus a toxic relationship? And we're gonna unpack this a little bit deeper as well. So let's start with, what does a healthy relationship look like, and then we'll move into what the toxic one looks like.
Okay, so a healthy relationship to me, and this is like regarding friends, family, like associates, co-workers, stuff like that. Healthy relationship is just you have like a mutual respect for each other first and foremost. You have a mutual respect, and also you keep in contact with each other from time to time. And when I say like time to time, it's just like it. Mostly like I'd say every 2 weeks or every month. And even if y'all haven't had like a conversation in like let's say a month or two or even a few months, you still, let's say I like like me and you.
Yeah.
All right, we didn't talk for like a couple like for months.
Yeah, couple months, yeah.
But yeah, we still like like the last time we spoke like we were talking.
Exactly. Just pick
So,
right back
like,
up where we were.
Like, so yeah, this is like an example of like a healthy relationship. It's where you can. I thought about Eric. I may not have like talked to him. I may not have like reached out to him, but yeah, I thought about him from time to time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a healthy relationship where you have like respect, communication, boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah. Because some people, they'll do what you let them get away with, and so like that's an example of a healthy relationship. And
what about that toxic, man?
So the toxic relationships. So a toxic relationship, and gosh, I've seen this a lot too. So a toxic relationship is one where, one where things get out of hand quickly. Things get out of hand quickly for one. So y'all may be like good friends, but it's not like y'all value each other's relationship the same, So right, one person may like value the relationship more than the other.
Yeah.
And so, the one that doesn't is like quicker to like, quicker to like take the low road,
Yeah.
and throw some dirt on your name or like, call you out of your name or, disrespect you in some type of action or fashion. And so, yeah, like, and when it like constantly happens too,
Yeah.
constantly happens, like, that's a real red flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen or I've heard, and girls have told me this as well, but not just guys, but yeah, I've seen this with guys as well. But when you notice like people keep getting back with their exes, I start to think like that's a toxic relationship. It's like, it's like you're not growing at all. It's like you've gotten so comfortable to the fact that okay, but I don't want to like jump ahead. But yeah, you keep going back to what you're used to. And, even though this person's flaws, but it didn't work out the first time.
Yeah.
Or the second time.
Yeah.
Or the third time. But you're willing to, go through that, to expose yourself to some hurt or pain.
Yeah.
Because, it's a means to an end,
Yeah.
So, like, that's an example of a toxic relationship to me.
And that actually aligns with chapter 5 in my book, Paradigm: Thinking Differently About Relationships. Chapter 5 talks about love the idea of relationship, but not the person you're in the relationship with. Meaning, whether it's a friend or acquaintance, an associate, or even if you're in a romantic relationship, you love the idea of being with this person maybe because you just feel good that you're in a relationship. You want somebody to quote unquote love, or there's benefits that come along with being associated with this person.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you really don't even like the person. You don't value the person. You just want the benefits of being around them.
Right. Having that company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not being alone in public.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So it's just, there people, we can hide like a lot of things, but that's just like one example of like what I've considered like a toxic relationship. But I haven't really thought too much of like, that's a real good question, man. I'm in the hot seat, man. You really put me in the hot seat with these questions, man. So, but I want to hear your take on it,
Okay.
On a toxic, let's start with a toxic.
Ooh.
Yeah. Uno reverse.
I know, right? Okay. Uno reverse. I ain't playing Uno in a minute. Toxic relationship, in my perspective, is one. I'm gonna steal the word you said, value.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I would say a toxic relationship. You continuously hit brick walls. Toxic relationships, there is no communication. No one's really hearing each other. Everybody's talking, but no one's listening or hearing. There is no worth placed on the other person. There is no change. One side may think, I want the other person to change, but I'm okay the way that I am. I'm fine. You're the problem. You need to change. When there's no personal accountability, when there's no personal ownership, especially when people use this term, and I say it all the time on this platform, one of my most aggravating comments that can come out of somebody's mouth is when they say, that's just who I am. I have a huge problem with that. That's just who I am. Well, no, that's who you choose to be. So, and for a practical example, I would say, reality television, when we see these toxic relationships to where it's this perpetual cycle like a roller coaster of the up and down of like manic episodes. We're up here, we're lovey dovey, and then the next time you see us, we fighting like cats and dogs. There's no equilibrium because nobody's willing to change. We're willing to say I'm sorry, but there's no repentance. There's no willingness to change.
Yeah, I won't do it again.
Yeah, I just want you to accept me for who I am, and that's the culture in the world today. Let me live my truth, and you just accept whatever the heck I give you. And if you don't accept whatever I give you, that means you don't love me because we have a jacked up perception of what love really is. So that's what I would say toxic, and then for healthy is the total opposite.
No. You're going deeper. I need more for a healthy relationship, man. Because I could have said this. I was thinking about saying the same thing. But I was like, nah. Let me give you some more. So, nah.
So I
ain't no easy way out of this, bro.
So for healthy relationship,
don't even
cheat. I'm a cheat. Well, okay. For healthy relationships is we're willing to do the work to make the other person better. And what I mean by that is when we, this platform is rooted in the scriptures, is rooted in the text. Are we esteeming others above ourselves? And if we value a relationship, then as practical example for me and you, as we grow closer in our relationship as friends, then I need to be mindful of how I show up, what I do, what I say, how I act, how I respond to you. If your well-being is not a priority to me, then that's a toxic relationship. But if I am constantly thinking about how does my words, my actions, my presence, my aura, my being in your presence, how it affects you, then I think that you're on the right path, that people are on the right path concerning a healthy relationship, because it's just not about me. It's about seeking your well-being as well as to make sure that you are able to become and that you can be better as a person just because you're in my presence, and I can be a better person because you're in my presence.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, and that is like, a good trait of a healthy relationship. Like, it's selfless.
Yes.
It is selfless. And yeah, most toxic relationships, either, both people in the relationship are selfish, or one person is selfish and, taking advantage of the other person's selflessness.
Yep.
Like manipulators, narcissists.
Bingo.
Yeah, so, it's just, I like that. So, I'm glad, so I gotta ask you that back because I want to learn from you as well. So,
yeah. What influences or exposures in your life has guided your involvement towards either side of the pendulum of being involved in a healthy relationship or being involved in a toxic relationship, to whereas which one you would give your energy to?
Okay.
Or like what are some of the examples or models that you've seen in the past that you possibly could think that has contributed to how you engage in relationships today?
Okay. So, I mean, I've seen many. I'll just say this because, I was with my boys the other night, playing, basketball. I like to play basketball a lot. I like to hoop. So, yeah, and, it's us, we're a bunch of guys. But I noticed, and we're, from, different walks of life. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's, different races. And I noticed, we're, so comfortable. It's, we don't even, see, black and white.
Yeah.
Right, so, and I know, I've seen this, they'll, go at, they'll make fun of each other. You know, like they'll throw them stereotypical jokes at each other, but it's like no one's getting offended.
Yeah, no one's getting offended.
That's an example of like of a healthy relationship. And like the first time when I saw that amongst my boys, I was like, wow, man, like that's crazy because it's like some people like a lot of guys I just pick up with. I know, like, they would get, like, real mad, like, hearing some stereotypical thing about them, or, like, they'll probably, like, say it to another person, but they'll get mad if they hear it back.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, the fact that the guys that I hang with, or at least these group of guys that I hang with, they're so mature to, like, throw stereotypical jokes at each other, and not cross like a boundary.
Yeah.
And it's just like that is an example of a healthy relationship. And now me, I don't I don't really like throw stereotypical jokes like that because I've just never I wasn't raised that way.
Yeah.
Because I know especially like nowadays with this generation, like people are like super sensitive.
Yes.
But if I notice like that the group is like that, okay, then I'm a little bit like, I'm more comfortable to like joke around with, cause like they're my boys, like we joke around, So, and I like relationships like that where it's just like y'all joke around, and though it may like feel offensive. Like if you was just like an
outsider looking in
bro, but it's like like us on the inside, like we don't take no offense to that because we know how we are. So I like relationships like that, and I really like that's the kind of relationships I see where we're just like every time we link up, we have fun, we throw shit at each other in a joking way, and we just like we don't come off feeling like bad vibes about it, but if we do, like we definitely like speak up, or like come off to the side, like hey, that wasn't cool. And at the end of the day, we're still friends, even if we're not friends at the end of the day. Like at the end of the week, we're talking.
We're gonna reconcile.
Right, we're still talking. So I like to put my energy into like relationships like that. Because relationships like that is what matters. Yeah. That's healthy. It doesn't gaslight you. Mm-hmm. Toxic relationships will gaslight you. They'll mess with your head so much.
Make you think you the crazy.
Yes, and that can turn you crazy too. Like, for real, that can turn you crazy. Next thing you know, you done like made a wrong move, probably a move that you regret, and it's just like people will be like, yo, I didn't know he was capable of that. Like he was such a good guy, or she was such a nice girl. Like she was so sweet. I didn't know, cause like they get involved with the wrong people, and that gaslight their heads. They involved in a toxic relationship. Yeah. So invest your energy into if you notice that with somebody, like invest your energy into that. Because like good friends are hard to come by. Good friends are hard. So,
and I think some of my influences of why I choose I make a very conscious decision not to engage in toxic relationships because number one, I just ain't got the time for drama. I don't. Number two, I saw in my household growing up, even in my family, I really can't pinpoint a healthy example.
Really?
Of a relationship. Meaning, I'd say mostly from a romantic perspective. That there wasn't really, there were marriages. There was one marriage that I can point to that I thought was really, really good, and I admired that relationship. My Aunt Lynette and Uncle Benny, they were good, but I wasn't around them all the time, so I know everybody's got issues, everybody got stuff going on, but just from the outside looking in, I would say that was the single most model that I saw. And so, there were various things that happened in the family, the domestic violence, all that kind of stuff. So as I got older, I made a vow to myself that I did not want to repeat the cycles. I did not want my two boys to witness anything that I have ever witnessed. Because I want them to have a different perspective about what a relationship is. So I don't want them exposed to toxicity. I just want you exposed to healthy, so you can carry on that pattern and whatnot. And so even in my dealings with women, I think a lot of it rooted in I did not like the way that, for the most part, my mother was treated in relationships, to whereas it has shaped my approach and how I treat women, because I'm trying to mimic how I wanted my mother to have been treated.
Were you the oldest in your family? How many
I was the youngest.
You was the youngest?
Yeah, because I have a twin brother.
Uh-huh.
So he came out first, and then I have a older brother. So how old am I? I forgot how old I was. I'll be 39 next month. And then my older brother, he's 42. So me and my twin brother 39, and my oldest brother 42. So yeah, I'm the youngest. Well, on my mother's side, and then I think I'm fourth in line on my father's side.
Your father's side. Mm-hmm.
So don't get me started on that. But
I just wanted to know, because yeah, like the youngest, like they see it. They pretty much like see it all. It's like you see the relationships with like your brothers, your sisters. Did you have any sisters?
I have one sister on my father's side, but we didn't grow up together, and we connected when we were adults.
Mm-hmm.
So like I never really knew her as a child.
As a child,
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like I noticed, like the younger, like they see it all, and I feel like they're affected the most because the youngest, like they don't really have like because they're the youngest, they don't really have like the any say or any power like amongst their siblings. So it's like they just take it. They just take it, and they gotta like deal with it or like find a way to like cope with it.
Yeah. Oh, bruh.
And I know this.
You start some conversations we gotta have offline.
I'm saying this because like I have a younger brother as well. I have a younger, and I'm like I peep things. I peep a whole lot of. I like to observe.
Yeah.
And I like to like just consider things. So it's just I notice. A lot of things, and my younger brother is like, even like we've been pretty close in the past. Right now, and I don't mind putting this on air. Like right now, it's not like him and I are like beefing at the moment, but it's something that I know in the near future I'm gonna reconcile with him, but it's just. He can't really like tell nobody nothing, even though he may be right in certain situations. It just depends on how receptive is that one of my siblings or even the parents.
Yeah.
Because I know my parents they don't do everything right, but it's like you can't really tell them nothing to your parents, so you just gotta live with it, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating at times. You like, but man, you about to have me. But yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, so I get it. Like there's perks, but that's just one of the cons of like being like the youngest sibling. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm a middle child.
Well, let's go here. What kind of relationships are you prone to being in?
Okay. No, I'm prone to being in healthy relationships, and as far as like I'll use an example. A lot of my friends, my contacts, they're friends, and if you would have asked them about me, I'm pretty sure like they would have like positive, like overall like positive things to say about me, and I would them as well. being in a toxic, I'm not prone to like sticking around in a toxic relationship. It's just like, who has the time for that? Who
Hey.
has the patience for that? Especially as you get older, like,
Yeah.
you respect yourself more, and you just, you learn how to read people. And reading people is just, some I've been aware of, even like, as a teen, as a, an older, I mean, as a younger person. I wouldn't say I had it my whole life, and there's sometimes like I misread people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just to avoid situations or avoid people, and observe them, watch how they act towards others. Just to make sure, like, that they're not just switching up and being toxic around you. Because sometimes, yeah, it can, like, people are like that. Like, they'll disrespect you, but have people that they respect. Even if you're being like, even if you're like a sweet guy or a good guy, if you're not toxic, so just um, to see that and know that, okay, I don't want to deal with this person, or I mean, I don't want to like be in this person's circle,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, that helps out in the long run, because it's like less stress, like you ain't trying to deal with that. So yeah, like that's the kind of relationships I'm like prone to. If if it doesn't, if I notice some toxicity, it's either it's gonna like eventually it's gonna end up dissolving, or either
Mm-hmm.
dissolving, or it's gonna end up like we're just gonna break apart, because at the end of the day we both have our standards.
Yes.
And that's a
Yes.
good thing. Like you gotta have your standards, and
Yep.
not let people like cross the boundaries. I get it. Sometimes I will, I will like show some patience, but it's only like so much patience that you can show.